Hello everyone and welcome to the only decisive game from round 11 of this year's Tata Steel Masters edition. It is Praggnanandhaa versus Parham Maghsoodloo, and both of them had a pretty great start to the tournament, but out of the last 3 games, both of them lost 2 games and got 1 draw, so really both of them want to get back into this tournament by winning a game. That's why this game is really a nice attacking game, and well, it's the only game that did not end in a draw from round 11. I already said too much, but you know, that's why we are covering it. So let's dive straight into it, as well, very early on we will have a completely new territory to explore. So Pragg, with the white pieces, opens with e4. We have pawn to c5, Parham goes for the Sicilian defense, knight to f3, we have d6, and now pawn to d4, striking in the center, c captures, knight to f6, knight to c3, and a6, Parham goes for the Najdorf Sicilian, and Pragg goes for h3. This is the Adams attack. You are preparing g4 and then g5. So here we have a counter in the center, pawn to e5, and now already Pragg shows that he prepared something special, because knight to e2 is the most played move here, then knight to b3 is the second most popular retreat, but Pragg goes back, knight to f3, and now look at this, queen to c7, and now knight to h2, and it is now, as of move 8 that we have, or rather, yeah, as of move 8 that we have a completely new game. Knight b to d7, another move with the knight for Pragg, knight to g4, and now pawn to b5. Parham says, alright, you keep horsing around, I'm just gonna develop my pieces, and now even knight to e3. We've already played 10 moves, and Pragg spent 6 moves moving the knight, but in return he has a knight on e3, which is a spectacular square for this knight. If one of the knights comes to d5, at least one knight is staying there. So here knight to b6. Of course, Parham wants to keep an eye on that d5 square as well, and a3 now, stopping b4. We have bishop to e7, and now bishop to d3. We have bishop to e6, just continuing development nicely, and queen to f3. We have g6, and here Parham castle. First Pragg castles, now knight f to d7, also preparing to castle and preparing to execute f5. We have bishop to d2, and now knight to c5, putting pressure on the bishop here. So Pragg prefers to keep the bishop pair, and now Parham castles. And he might have some ideas of bringing the other rook into the game at some point. d5 is a move you want to play, but white really made an effort preventing that pawn from being pushed to d5, and the other one is of course the standard f5 breakthrough. So here Pragg stops this. He plays knight to f5, which is a piece sacrifice, but not really. There are 2 ways you could accept this. You could play bishop captures on f5, you could play g captures on f5, sort of accept the sacrifice, or ignore white completely. Parham played bishop captures on f5, but the problem is with g captures on f5 and e captures, you don't have time to save your bishop, otherwise f6 will be deadly. So you have to play king to h8, get the king out of the g file, and now after you remove the knight from the defense of the bishop, let's say knight c to d7, now you capture, and now you go queen to g4, you put pressure on the pawn, and it looks like you've completely destroyed black's defenses. But after moves like rook to f6, guarding the e6 pawn, and this rook coming to g8, black will have very nice counter-attacking chances here. So, while it is possible to do it, Parham decides to go for bishop captures on f5. And okay, e captures on f5, and now pawn to d5. Now it's possible, so Parham gets the full center. And the problem is you don't have time for f6 because of e4, and the white queen cannot keep on defending the f6 pawn. So here Pragg goes bishop to h6, attacks the rook here, just rook f to d8. We have rook a to d1, and now pawn to e4, attacking the queen and opening up this diagonal. Queen to g4, and now knight c to a4. Going after this knight, he says, you don't have any threats on the king side, I'm just gonna attack you where you are weak. So okay, knight captures on a4, knight captures, and now f captures on g6. We have h captures on g6, and now Pragg has to be very careful here and slow things down. He has to play a move like rook to b1, defend his b2 pawn, and the game just continues. The problem is Parham does not have time to claim the c2 pawn. If he does this, then once the rook attacks the queen, it's not all that great. Now both the queen and the knight are so far away from the king side, it's very easy to attack at h4, h5, and you bust open the king's defenses. However, Pragg rushed it a little bit. He played pawn to f4, and here things really start to go wrong for Pragg because, well, it's just very, very easy to find natural moves for black. Queen to b6 with check, king to h1, and now pawn to f5. The queen b6 check was used to defend the g6 pawn, so you can advance the pawn to f5. Now, it's possible that Pragg missed this idea, because now, as you'll see, he will be struggling to find moves. Queen to g3, now knight captures on b2, wins material, rook to b1, and now knight to c4. An excellent square for the knight. We have pawn to a4 by Pragg, and king to h7. So now the queen can move, you don't have to worry about the g6 pawn. And here, a fine move for Pragg would have been bishop to g5. It would pose some problems for Parham, but even with this, it's not that difficult to defend. For example, rook a to c8, and you really don't have all that much to worry about. If you go for some queen h4, king to g8 action, even queen to h6 is not a problem. Now, you might be having some ideas of maybe a captures, rook captures, queen captures, then you pick up the pawn on g6, and then you are at least, you have at least a draw, but that's not happening. For example, rook to c7, and now if a captures, then just rook here traps the queen. So whatever you play, it's just not enough. But bishop to g5 would definitely be the best attempt for white. So here, instead, Pragg played bishop captures on c4, but now king captures on h6. Pragg goes back, bishop to b3, now rook a to c8. We have a captures, and now rook f to d1. Pawn to d4, Parham's massive center continues marching forward, queen to f2, stops the advancement of the d pawn, as the queen would hang on b6. So rook to c3, and now rook to a1. Pragg trying to take advantage of the open a file, but now queen to f6. Putting pressure on this diagonal, preparing queen to h4 to trade queens. Rook to a7, Pragg does get his rook to the 7th rank, but just queen to h4. Here, Pragg, of course, declines the trade, queen to f1, and now we have pawn to d3. Now, it's possible, as Pragg is pretty much without a move. You can't capture, the bishop would hang, so g3, attacking the queen, and now just d captures on c2. Parham calculates everything precisely, because if you capture the queen, then just rook captures on d1. Now you have to trade the queen for rook, rook captures, c captures on d1, bringing another queen, bishop captures, and now you can play pretty much anything like bishop captures on h4. You are up 2 pawns. This will be completely winning for you. But instead, we have rook captures on d8 by Pragg, and now Parham just plays bishop captures on d8. Now this is not an optimal response, probably because it's move 38, so he's trying to reach time control. I do not have the exact time that he had on this move, but I will just show that c1 resigns on the spot. I mean, you bring another queen into the game, and that's it. There's no move that you can play here. Even if you go for something like rook to h8 with check, trying to pick up the queen here or something like that, I mean, there's always the other queen. Whatever you do, you're going to be down a queen, like king to g7, queen captures on c1, you're going to play rook captures on c1 with check, king g2, queen captures on h8, and there's just nothing. You are up a full queen. So it's very weird that Parham did not play pawn to c1. He played bishop captures on d8. It's probably because he already calculated that he's just going to be up 2 pawns in a completely winning endgame. So he just stopped calculating. But yeah, he is correct. G captures on h4, now c1 queen. You have to trade queen captures, rook captures with check, king to g2, and now bishop captures on h4. You're up 2 pawns, and you are completely winning. But as usual, Pragg makes it very, very difficult for him to actually win this. He plays rook to a6, now preparing bishop to f7 to go after the g6 pawn. And if you can gobble up this pawn and open up the black king, things might be okay. So here, rook to c3 attacks the bishop, bishop to e6 first. Now preparing captures on f5, because rook to g3 check was also an option. So rook to c2, this delivers check, king to h1, and now bishop to f6, stopping bishop captures on f5. Even though you could play it, but Pragg decides to go after the b5 pawn. Now he's attacking the bishop and the b5 pawn, and he will win this pawn. King to g7 defends the bishop, now bishop captures on b5, and now Parham is only up 1 pawn. The problem is Pragg's king is completely cut off from the game. We have rook to f2 now, going after the f4 pawn, rook to a7, h7 with check. We have king to h6, now rook to a6, goes after the bishop, bishop to d4, and now bishop to e8, goes after the g6 pawn, and you can't really defend this pawn. We have pawn to e3, rook captures on g6. Now it's 2 pawns each. Parham is no longer up material. King to h7, and now rook to g1, getting ready to counter that pawn on the e1 square. Pawn to e2, now preparing rook to f1, and now bishop to b5, stopping the immediate threat of rook to f1 as the bishop is covering that. And now the problem for Parham is that there is only one winning move in the position, but luckily you guys are here to help him win this. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the only winning move while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this instant brilliancy. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is rook to h2 with check. I did do it in slow motion, but there are only 2 squares. I mean, it's impossible. So rook to h2 check, and it was in this position on move 52 that Praggnanandhaa resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. It's a forced line, so congratulations to everyone who spotted this, because now after king captures on h2, you're going to play bishop captures on g1 with check. And after king captures, just e1 queen. Queen against bishop, of course, you resign this. So Pragg saw this after rook to h2 check. He resigned, and a wonderful victory for Parham Maghsoodloo, breaking his losing streak. Like I said, out of the previous 3 games, he got 2 losses and a draw. And Pragg continues his losing streak, as now, even though he had a spectacular start of the tournament, out of the last 4 games, he now lost 3 games and got 1 draw. So not the best. But still a few games left in the tournament. We'll see what happens. Nothing really changed here regarding the standings, as all the other games ended in a draw. So I think Parham is currently in 8th place, and Pragg not doing all that great. But I will check for you. I don't want to trick you guys. Yeah, currently it's okay. Pragg in 9th place. Yeah, because he had such a great start of the tournament. Even the 3 losses now still keep him in 9th place. Yeah. So very nicely done. Yeah, not much else changed. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Pragg tried to break the losing streak. He went for a very exciting line, like we've shown. I mean, from the first 10 moves, this is what it means. Don't break the opening principles, but if you are a very strong grandmaster like Pragg here, a former 2700, you can break it. You know, they say don't move the same piece twice in the opening. Pragg moved it 6 times out of the first 10 moves. So if you're that strong, you can play it. And he had a fine position, but he just over pushed it a little bit, and of course Parham is too strong, and he punished that. But yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe it inspired you to try something extra in your own games. I would like to thank Peter Knurich, John Noonan, Russell L. Scott, Lasse Malzer, and Franz Buchholz for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Tata Steel until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.